Welcome to Rothkopf Law Group's Elder Care Uncovered, where advocacy meets empathy.
And that combination, advocacy and empathy, is just so essential for what we're talking about today.
It really is. We're wading into one of the most, high stakes and anxiety-producing situations a family can face. It's that moment you realize you need long-term care Medicaid, but it feels like the requirements are designed to cause, frankly, total financial ruin.
The fear is just palpable, isn't it? You have one spouse facing entry into a nursing home, and suddenly that life savings you built together.
The money meant to keep the healthy spouse stable.
Right, that's suddenly threatened. People feel like they're in a trap. Secure the care or protect the assets. It feels like you can't possibly do both.
But you can.
You can, and that's our entire focus today. There's a specific, powerful, and, completely legal tool that's designed to resolve this exact conflict, the Medicaid-compliant annuity.
Okay, so think of it as a strategic rebranding of your money.
That's a great way to put it. It converts what the government sees as a lump of countable cash.
The stuff that gets you disqualified.
Exactly. And it turns it into a guaranteed, protected income stream.
Yeah.
So the core mission is transformation. You're changing the money's job so it fits the government's rules.
Right.
It's a mechanism that helps families meet those really strict eligibility requirements for care benefits without forcing the financial instability that everyone is so afraid of. We're actively using the law to find that stability.
Let's start with the immediate obstacle, because this is where the planning has to begin. When someone applies for long-term care Medicaid, and this is usually for very expensive nursing home care,
right,
they have to meet these incredibly strict financial limits.
Right.
What kind of money are we talking about here? What gets people disqualified?
We are talking about countable assets.
Yeah.
Medicaid operates on this principle that if you have significant funds available to pay for your own care, well, you have to use those first.
So things like your regular savings account.
Savings accounts, non-protected investments, even certain retirement funds, they're all counted against that limit.
Yeah.
And if you wake up one morning with, say, $10,000 more than the limit allows, you're disqualified.
And that excess, whether it's $10,000 or $50,000, it forces what's called the spend down. And you're suddenly just writing these huge checks to the nursing home, liquidating everything you've worked for month after month until you finally hit that low qualification number. It's painful.
That is the classic devastating bind. And that is exactly why the Medicaid-compliant annuity, the MCA, is such a relief. It gives you a way out of that forced spend down.
How does it work?
The mechanism is pretty simple at its core. The applicant, or more often the non-applicant spouse.
The one staying home.
The community spouse.
Right. They take that lump sum of countable assets and they exchange it for MCA.
So when you say exchange, you mean literally moving the money out of the bank account and into this specific product. Yes, exactly. That lump sum is used to purchase the annuity. And here's the profound part of it. Once those funds are irrevocably converted into this annuity structure, they are no longer viewed as an available resource that could be immediately spent on care.
Ah, so that's the flip switch. It stops being a static number in a savings account, and it instantly becomes a predictable, structured paycheck.
Correct, because it's structured as an income stream, a fixed amount you receive every single month. It's treated differently under Medicaid rules, especially when it's held by the healthy spouse. And that transformation is the absolute key to allowing the person who needs care to qualify, sometimes immediately, while protecting that income for the person staying home.
Okay, this sounds incredibly effective.
It is. But if this tool were just, easy to use and unregulated, everyone would do it incorrectly and the system would probably collapse.
So there are rules.
Oh, there are very strict rules. Because this strategy is so effective at preserving assets, it is meticulously structured. This is not a gray area. It's not a loophole. It's a very sharp, very precise tool.
So if someone listening is looking at an annuity to help with Medicaid qualification, what are the characteristics that make it legally compliant? Because if you mess up any one of these, the whole strategy fails, right?
Absolutely. Failure to meet these criteria can lead to penalties, disqualification. The whole thing falls apart. There are 5 mandatory characteristics.
Oh, okay.
The first one is completely non-negotiable. The annuity must be irrevocable.
Irrevocable, meaning the decision is permanent. You can't change your mind, cash it out 6 months later, or pull that lump sum back.
Yeah, exactly. You are committed to that monthly income stream. Second, it has to be non-transferable.
You can't sell the right to those payments to someone else.
Correct. Third, it must provide equal monthly payments over its entire term. This ensures the asset is being liquidated in a predictable, systematic way. No big balloon payment up front and then tiny payments later.
So the math has to be consistent for the whole life of the agreement. What about the duration? How long can it last?
That's rule number 4, and it's critical. The term has to be defined, and crucially, it can be no longer than the life expectancy of the annuitant. This links the whole strategy to a realistic projection of need. You can't set up an annuity for 50 years to shelter funds if the person receiving payments is 85.
Right, okay. So those 4 rules seem designed to enforce seriousness and structure. But the last rule, number 5, you said that's the one that really proves this is responsible planning, not just hiding money.
Yes. Rule number 5 is the state's protection mechanism. The annuity must name the state as the beneficiary to the extent that Medicaid benefits have been paid.
What does that mean exactly?
It means if the person receiving the payments passes away before the annuity pays out its full value, any remaining funds go first to reimburse the state for the care costs it covered.
That's where the authenticity of the strategy really comes in. It addresses that question you might have. Wait, if the state gets repaid eventually, how does this really help my family?
And the answer?
The benefit isn't about sheltering the money forever. The benefit is enabling the applicant to qualify now to get essential care and protecting the spouse's stability in the immediate future. It's about bridging that gap.
Exactly. Immediate qualification and financial stability today, while acknowledging the state's right to recovery later. It ensures compliance.
Speaking of compliance, we have to talk about the dreaded P word in elder law, the penalty period. For families new to this whole world, that concept is incredibly scary. What is the penalty period and why is it such a financial tripwire?
The penalty period is a temporary period of disqualification from receiving Medicaid benefits. It gets triggered when assets are transferred or gifted for less than their worth. Basically, if you gave away your savings within 5 years of applying.
That's the famous look-back rule in action. The government literally looks 5 years back into your finances to see if you suddenly unloaded all your savings to qualify.
And if they find transfers that aren't compliant, you face the penalty.
And the penalty isn't just a fine, right? It's a period of time.
Right. It's the requirement that you have to pay for months or even years of nursing home care, which can easily run $10,000, $15,000 a month completely out of your own pocket. It's a catastrophic financial hit.
So if a family tries to, say, gift their savings to their kids to qualify faster,
big mistake.
They trigger that penalty and they're stuck paying for care until that penalty period is over.
Precisely. And this is why the Medicaid-compliant annuity is such a shield. When a family purchases a compliant annuity, they are not gifting assets. They're not transferring them for less than fair market value. They are engaging in a permissible transaction.
It's a conversion.
It's a conversion that follows Medicaid's rules. It's the difference between trying to sneak money out the back door and, openly taking the money and putting it into a government-approved storage locker.
I like that analogy. By following those 5 rules, the family avoids the penalty period entirely. They get qualifications sooner, and they avoid those massive out-of-pocket costs. It really shows the value of proactive planning.
And if we connect this to the bigger picture, the strategy is less about the numbers and more about the emotional, the human benefit. We're moving from anxiety and this forced spend down
to peace of mind and some managed certainty.
Exactly.
I think the biggest burden for a married couple in this situation is that fear that the healthy spouse will be left impoverished.
Of course.
That's why preserving financial stability and independence at home is just so vital. This isn't just about covering care expenses. It's about maintaining a life.
To really see this in action, let's use the scenario that often makes this click for people. The married couple example. It shows exactly how the MCA works to protect that non-applicant spouse.
Okay, so walk us through the typical scenario.
All right. We have a husband who needs to enter a nursing home and qualify for Medicaid. His wife, the healthy spouse, is going to remain at home.
And their finances.
Let's say they have $200,000 in countable assets, maybe in a joint savings account. That $200,000 is far, far above the maximum asset limit. So the husband cannot qualify.
And under pressure, their first instinct would be to just start spending that $200,000 on his care, leaving the wife with very little to live on.
That's the classic path. But with smart planning, their attorney identifies the excess assets. Let's say it's $150,000 and advises them to purchase a Medicaid-compliant annuity.
And crucially,
that annuity is purchased in the wife's name.
So the $150,000 is gone from the bank account. What happens next when they fill out the Medicaid application?
Immediately, that $150,000 is no longer a countable asset that disqualifies the husband. It has become a guaranteed protected stream of monthly income for the wife. And that income stream falls under spousal protection rules designed to prevent impoverishment.
That is just incredibly powerful. The husband is now financially eligible for Medicaid because their countable assets are down to the limit.
Right.
And the wife has secured her financial independence at home. She can use that predictable monthly income to cover the mortgage, utilities, all her daily living expenses. It secures both the care that's needed and the family's stability.
It gives them control back in a situation where they felt completely powerless.
Now, while the benefits here are obviously huge, we have to emphasize the complexity. This entire strategy relies on absolute flawless execution. It's only effective when it's part of a broader strategy.
Which brings up a really critical question. Why can't a family just go buy one of these annuity products online? Why is professional guidance so mandatory here?
Well, there are two giant hurdles that make any kind of DIY planning here virtually impossible. First, the regulatory environment is a minefield. The rules are state-specific.
While Medicaid is federal, it's administered by the states, and their interpretation and their implementation of these annuity rules can vary wildly. A plan that looks perfect in New Jersey could be a disqualifying error in Pennsylvania.
And second, there's a huge risk with the product itself, product compliance.
That's right. There are dozens of types of annuities out there, and if the one you purchase doesn't meet every single one of those 5 strict requirements we detailed earlier.
Irrevocable, non-transferable.
Fixed payments, life expectancy term, and the state beneficiary clause. If it misses even one, it's considered a non-compliant asset transfer.
Which means you've just paid money for a product that still disqualifies you, and worse, could even trigger a penalty. You've actually made the problem worse.
An experienced elder law attorney doesn't just fill out forms. They ensure the annuity product itself is legally sound, that it's tailored to your specific state's rules, and that it's integrated seamlessly with the rest of the family's financial picture. They provide that necessary, personalized guidance to make sure every single step meets the latest intricate Medicaid regulations.
So what's the final thought here for our listener? Leveraging a tool like the Medicaid-compliant annuity isn't about, evading the rules.
Not at all.
It's about using the established legal pathways that are available to make responsible, well-informed decisions that provide immediate relief and long-term protection. It turns a crisis of mandatory spend-down into a controlled, manageable process.
Well said. It transforms a crippling asset limit into protected income. And by doing that, it helps applicants qualify for essential benefits while preserving the financial stability for the family member who remains at home. It's about converting chaos into certainty.
Thanks for joining us in this edition of Rothkopf Law Group's Elder Care Uncovered. If you have any questions about what we've just discussed here, call us here at Rothkopf Law Group at 877-475-1101.